Okay. I think we're live. Let me just check. Anybody here? Is anybody here? Waiting for my live stream to go live. Let me refresh. Oh, let me turn off the sound so I don't get flagged by YouTube. And there, the commercial is okay. We're good. We are good. We're live on StreamYard, everybody. Let me get back to the link. There we are. Hey, everybody. Tony D, little Joan, sleeping. Shh. And we are here to do an Oscar pre-game thing. In other words, it's an opportunity for me to complain about the Oscars yet again. Because the Oscars suck so much. So one of the things I can provide for some of you who aren't my age bracket is to give you a sense of what the Oscars were like in the past, and then why things are so bad today by comparison. Because what you have to understand is the Oscars were something that they would say 100 million people are watching worldwide, and there was nothing. I don't think there was anything like that unless you count like the moon landing. So it was huge in previous years. And now ABC is telling the broadcast, hey, you got to cut some awards. This thing goes on forever because it's just gotten so bad, in my view. This is all my view. All my view, YouTube. So cool your jets. I'm just spouting my opinions. But before we get into it, let's take care of some business. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for buying my books. I'm selling books all this week. Someone's going through all the Pineys and reading them. Thank you. Hits are up on the Webcomic Factory. I've been mentioning that. Webcomic Factory at the webcomicfactory.com and Superfrat. So thank you all for that. It really helps me. And I could do more videos and I have more time. You know, it's all about time, you know, in the world of YouTube and doing creative stuff. You never have enough time. So there's that. Now, the other thing is Sandy. Oh, Sandy's here, everybody. Hey, Sandy. Nice to see you. Are you excited for my video, or are you excited for the Oscars? That's the question. So the big deal, of course, that I need to talk about again, I haven't got my hair cut yet. I just combed it. I just combed my hair. The one thing I wanted to talk about is, of course, people who still watch my YouTube videos, a screenwriter's rant, and still don't understand how they work. So just briefly, they work like this. Yeah, it's a lot of fun doing this live show. A lot of fun. I can answer questions and talk to people. It's very interactive. So YouTube loves it too. They give me more hits. So that's always good. So when I do the screenwriter's rant, people don't seem to get that I watch the trailer and then I analyze it from a screenwriting perspective. To this day, I still get people who just, their minds are blown that I would dare criticize a movie before I see it based on a trailer because they're so emotionally invested in the movie, I guess. I got blasted for, people are blasting me for this TV series called Severance, which I guess they like. I think it's kind of a dumb premise, but I think the premise is, if I remember correctly, you go to work and then the company has this procedure where they make you forget everything you do at work. So you just kind of, I don't know. I don't know what you do. I guess you kind of only remember work stuff at work time and you don't remember anything on your off time, which is a weird premise. It's like, what are these people doing at work that require requires it. I don't know. Maybe there's something in it. It just looks dumb. If these people, like, I don't know, work for the CIA and murder people while they're at work, then okay, yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool, because it's like they don't even know they're murderers. Like, half their lives, they're just like, hey, family. But I think it's kind of a dumb show. It looks way too serious, as always. Nothing's ever fun anymore on TV, except for that new Craig Robinson TV show, which I just looked at the trailer yesterday. It's called Killing It. Looks amazing. Looks amazing. There's not a lot I would watch on the streaming services, but that would be one show I would watch. I love Craig Robinson. I think he's funny. But anyhow, we got to get into some Oscar stuff. I got some articles. Again, I can't show them here on StreamYard, but I can show your comments. Movie news: The Lost City, which had one of the worst trailers ever, apparently made $30 million this weekend. 31 million. Hee, combed hair. Haha. Next thing you know, we'll be rocking a spiny tail. Never will I do a man bun tail thing. Actually, I think I did in college. I let my hair get pretty long, and I had to tie it back at some point, but I think that was the only time I let it get that long. I am getting a haircut Wednesday. My barber's very busy. I live in a small town where I could walk to the barber, which I love. And, depending on the time of year, I could just walk in and get a haircut. It's great. But this time of year, I don't know. He's like super busy. So Wednesday was the soonest he could jam me in. I'm like, geez, Wednesday. He's closed on Monday because he's just so busy. But anywho, Lost City did okay. But the article here at the Hollywood Reporter is like, oh my God, big win for box office recovery. Not really. I mean, 31 million is okay for a movie that cost you probably at least 200 million, probably 300 million. I don't know. I mean, you got three big stars in it. You got Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, and Brad Pitt. These guys don't come cheap. I mean, 31 million probably just covers their salaries. And that didn't cover all the other stuff you did for the movie, including the advertising, which to me is like the biggest expense right there. You could usually take the budget and then double it, and that's the advertising, like that second half. It's just, I don't think, and 31 million is okay for an opening weekend, but it always goes off after that. It starts at 31 and it goes, it very rarely goes the other way. So what are you looking at here? Maybe it makes 100 mil, maybe, which would be, I guess, okay if the budget was that low, but I don't think it was. I don't think it was. And then compare that to, there's an article in the Wrap about Spider-Man was the third film to gross 800 million just in the United States, which is a lot in the U.S. That's a lot. Often when they talk about the box office, they're talking worldwide. So like Spider-Man's a monster. It's a monster hit. They're going to make like 3 sequels at least to it. Tom Holland's sitting pretty. So, you can't even compare the two. Spider-Man brought back the movies a little bit. Lost City, I mean, they're talented because it's a chick flick. It's aimed at women. Nothing wrong with that. It's pretty decent for a female movie, but I don't think that's going to save movies. I don't know how many Sandy, you're here. How realistic is it for women to go to the movies just with other women? I mean, from my perspective, what I see is movies were always like a date thing mostly, and then because it was more of a date thing, it would generally be driven by the men, because the men are going to organize the date, and so the women will just they'll go along with most anything because they're on a date. Their importance isn't the movie, it's the date. So I just don't know. Spiny tail, I swear sometimes I hate autocorrect. But ducker. Ducking now, officially a curse word. Oh, duck. Yeah, I could use that on YouTube. It's like that's why I like scary movies. And yeah, there's some romantic movies you could drag your man to, but it always seemed to me that men kind of drove the movie industry to a large extent. And that women like going to movies. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, there's some movies that are more female centric, but to flip the entire script and just say, oh, now we're going to make movies for women because there's this untapped market and they're going to go to the movies constantly. I just don't see it. I just don't see women like sort of dropping whatever they're doing. Like, oh, I got to go to the movies. There's like 5 movies I got to see. So I got to keep going to the movies. Like, I just don't see that. Women are busy. They're taking, if they're not working, they're taking care of the house. They're going to the gym. They're taking care of their kids. They do a lot of things. They're very busy. Whereas men, I see it like, they need a release in terms of the fantasy aspect of movies. And so there's more to that. There's more potential there. But I don't know what they're doing. But let's get in a not typical chick. I never make a guy watch a chick flick. If I wanted to go watch it, I'd go with another chick. Yeah. I just don't see that as it's an audience. I just don't see it as a giant audience. I see it as an okay audience. Like there's certainly room for expansion there. But it's not like, hey, let's turn the entire industry around and focus on that. Anyhow, let's get into some Oscar stuff. The big news is Ukrainian President Zelensky is negotiating to speak at the Oscars, and Sean Penn vowed to smelt his Oscars if the Academy doesn't invite Zelensky to speak. Excuse me. Movies are a bad idea for the first or second date. Yes, I agree, because you're not talking. Yeah, movies are definitely like you're already kind of dating, or you've dated a couple of times at least. It's probably not third date. It's probably like fourth, fifth date. That's when you're sort of like settling in kind of date. It's like, oh, let's go to the movies. Oh, okay, we haven't done that yet. That's like casual dating after you're in a rhythm. You've been exchanging, communications for a week or two. You're probably going to be in this for a little while. Yes, it's time for the movies. Although I'm not atypical in that way because I'm a movie guy. So, sometimes I end up with a girl who's really into movies like I am. So then it becomes our whole thing. In fact, my ex and I picked this area to live at because I wanted to be near the theater that I liked, which unfortunately turned out not so great because the movie industry went to hell and the theaters no great shakes now either. It used to be great. It used to be like my favorite movie theater. Now it's just, it's a shame what they've done to it. It was high end. I like high-end movie theaters, high-end snacks, good seats. I could get an iced tea at the high-end ones. It was a Ritz, which is like a local chain here. And there's a Ritz in Philly that's still a Ritz. But the Ritz here is now, they're on their like 4th or 5th owner. And it's just a regular movie theater now. The seats are okay. But now they've got these theaters a few towns over that are like, they're easy chairs and you go on your phone and reserve a seat so you could be in the position in the theater you want. And I don't know. I think that's all overblown, quite frankly. What they need to do is create a better theater experience, and the seats are the least of your problems. Number one, the snacks. The snacks have to be either better, worth the money you're paying, or you have to make them cheaper. For what we're paying on these snacks, they should be dirt cheap because it's dirt cheap food. Let's be honest. Most places, they have popcorn. That's pretty low end. That should be dirt cheap. And then soda, and it's usually not great soda. It's not like you're getting that high-end bottled stuff. It's like, mass-produced sugar stuff. And you usually got one major corporation that does all the drinks. So like the entire beverage line is either Pepsi or Coke or whatever. And that, I understand that it saves money, but at the same time, it's like being at a pizza parlor. It's cheap. I want high end. I want a little high end if I'm going to pay that kind of money, or I don't want to pay that money. I mean, if you're going to sell me a bag of popcorn for $1 and a drink for $2, okay, that's nice and cheap. I can afford that. When you combine that with my movie ticket, I'm under $20 and I'm okay with that. You're gonna rake me over the coals for $15 and then rake me over the coals again for the food for the same amount? No. It's not worth it. For that kind of money, I'll go to a dollar store, buy a bag of candy, shove it in my pocket, buy a drink, shove it in my other pocket, and sneak it all in, which I've done a million times. My favorite thing to sneak in is pizza, but that's a tough operation. It's got to be wintertime. You got to have heavy coats, and it's tough to get the pizza in. But if you get a pizza in, it's great. It's nice to have pizza. Pizza in a movie. So if you're going to do food in the theater, at least do something. Do something that tastes good, that's worth the money. Like, I don't mind paying $15 if I'm getting like dumplings. Like if you're gonna give me dumplings and a drink, you're gonna charge me $15, which is still overpriced for dumplings and a drink. I'd be okay with that because I'd be like, ooh, dumplings. They're hot, they're delicious, and like that's doable. And I know it's doable because there was a theater near me that had a Chinese takeout place right in the same courtyard where the theater was. So one time I got dumplings and I snuck them in. It was awesome. It was awesome. Now, why couldn't that theater cut a deal with the Chinese food place right nearby so they could sell food? Everybody could make a lot of money. They don't work that way anymore. These theaters are opened by gigantic chains. It's the only way they can make them work now. So the profit margin's got to be razor thin at this point. And, so you don't have any kind of quality. Now you have a few places, they'll do these second run movies where it's a Bruin View. It's really a restaurant that shows movies. Those are kind of cool, but they're pretty rare. We don't have them in Jersey. I don't think. I think there's maybe one up north, but nowhere down here. And it's just like the whole experience of going to the movies it's so awful now. You're paying a lot of money for the ticket, for the food. Then you get in there. What's the first thing that happens? They're showing you commercials for a long time. Now, first, they only used to show you commercials. Maybe they'd show you one or two, basically for the food right ahead of the previews. And everybody wants to see the previews, so I don't count those. But you come into the theaters, and it's just blasting a commercial. And it's not even a good commercial. When they first started doing it, they had special commercials just for the theater, which they weren't great, but at least they were a little different than what you were seeing on TV. Now you go in there and you just immediately bombarded by commercials that you've seen on TV. And then you got to sit there while the theater has this fake host, like it's Entertainment Tonight or something, telling you, oh, let's go behind the scenes, which is really more commercials this time about the movies, interspaced with commercials about Coke or Pepsi or popcorn or anything really. And it's just annoying because it's you want to kind of relax and watch the movie and get excited for it, maybe talk ahead of time, sort of get the talking out of it while you're sitting there waiting for everybody to get in the theater to enjoy the experience. But instead you can't, because you're already being bombarded by noise and lights and sounds. And it's like, no wonder people are tuning out and going right to their phones, because who the hell wants to see all these commercials? And then finally, the previews start and they last forever. So really, you're supposed to show up at a movie whatever time. Let's say it's 7:30, and does the movie start at 7:30? Not even close. Usually got a good 20 minutes at least before the commercials and the previews are over, and then finally the damn movie starts. And I cannot tell you how many times I've gone into a movie and I've sat there and I'm sitting there with my friends and we're like, oh yeah, watching the commercial. And then finally we're halfway through the previews and I turn to my friend and I go, I don't even remember what movie I came here to see. What are we seeing? What are we seeing again? Because it's that much of a distraction in your brain. You go to a movie, you want a good experience. And so this is why the movie theaters are suffering. It's just a terrible time now. And if you got kids and you're taking them to see a movie, what a nightmare. Oh my God, what a nightmare it must be. First off, it costs you a fortune. Taking them to the bathrooms, another nightmare. The bathrooms in movie theaters aren't that great. It's just, they need a better experience overall. They need a high-end theater, and people would be willing to pay, even if you had to charge $2 or $3 more. Oh, and their latest solution, which I'm still incredibly upset about, where they're going to charge an extra $1 or $2 for a particular movie. God, how infuriating is that? Oh, here's a good movie. Oh, by the way, we're charging you an extra $1 for the Batman because we know you'll pay it. No. If you're going to charge me an extra $1, don't show me the damn commercials. Give me a free popcorn, something. I stopped going to the movies because of all that you just said. Add to the flicks usually suck. Yeah, that don't help either. I mean, the Oscar lineup, I don't think anybody saw these movies. And that Sean Penn wants to melt down his Oscars just because he demands Zelensky, the captain of the Ukraine, speak. What? First off, nobody's watching the damn Oscars, so it's not going to have the impact that Sean Penn imagines it will. It's just going to validate the Hollywood a-holes, the same Hollywood a-holes who already support blindly anything that Democrats do. So, I mean, what you're preaching to the choir, essentially. I mean, anybody who had more than a casual interest in the Oscars is long gone from it. Long gone. I mean, you've alienated Hollywood. You've alienated half the country immediately with your Trump derangement syndrome, because they just don't want to be lectured to about your nonsense and your politics, because they don't ascribe to them. It was tolerable for, I think, a lot of people up to a point. When you look at the 70s and 80s, it was tolerable. Marlon Brando got up and talked about Native Americans one time. People went, all right, Brandon, okay, Brando, let's go, Brando. And there was a little still, like in the 70s and 80s, there was still a little bit of openness to the Oscars. I mean, they had a streaker in the 70s, which was like a thing at the time. For those of you who don't remember, streaking was a thing, getting naked and running around, and it was just supposed to be for a minute, right? And then people would, okay, all right, and they would play this song from the 70s. They call him The Streak. And then everybody would laugh and they'd be like, all right, get off the stage. Come on, you nut. And the guy would either run away or security would escort him out and he would go. These days, I can only imagine the mayhem if somebody decided, ooh, I'm going to streak at the Oscars. First off, they'd probably tackle the guy Hey, JEC, welcome. They'd probably tackle the guy, beat him up, and there'd be news stories and interviews. Oh, this is terrible. This naked man. He'd probably be charged with all sorts of. Why is my camera getting all blurry? Oh, there it goes. I mean, they'd probably be a total overreaction to streaking. But, I mean, you could tell in the 70s and 80s, it was still kind of an open thing. It was kind of like, well, we're just doing this thing, the Oscars. And you could join in and you could be part of it or you could not. And, you know, you're not going to ruin it. People didn't want to ruin the Oscars because it was sort of everybody's thing. But now Hollywood has become so political. They have drawn lines in the sand over and over again. No to all you Republicans. We hate you. We don't like you. Go away. And I mean, on and on and on. I don't have to tell people watching this stream. So what does that do? Over the years, it just degrades. I mean, eventually people just throw up their hands and say, I'm done. I'm done with the Oscars. I don't want to watch this crap. Who wants to watch these people who are multi-millionaires receive awards and give awards to themselves and talk glowingly about each other? No one wants that. Back in the 70s and 80s, there were still actors and creative people you could root for because they weren't that way. You know, trying to think of a particular winner from the 80s. From the 80s. I don't know. I assume Clint Eastwood was in the mix back then. You know, but he's more on the right, so whatever. And even that, you know, a guy like Clint Eastwood, who's basically on the right, he could come out and do his thing, and nobody would get on him for that. There wouldn't be articles afterwards about, you know, slamming him because of that. It just seems like everything's so political now, and the Oscars have embraced that rather than saying, oh, no, we'll be above that, which is what they should have done. And the Zelensky thing is the absolute worst move possible because, and Sean Penn, you know, he doesn't care. He's just doing it for himself, I think. So you put Zelensky on, first off, you can only alienate people because even now there are some people on the left side of politics who are going, no, we shouldn't be in the Ukraine. We shouldn't be involved in this. This has nothing to do with movies. Why are you putting Zelensky on? The people who would say, yay, put Zelensky on, already watched the Oscars. 99% of them. So you don't really gain anything by doing that. You just further divide and drive people away because you had to jam in politics into something that was supposed to be about movies. And exactly, cringe. It would be so cringe, JEC. So it gains you absolutely nothing. And ABC is already complaining the telecast is too long. I mean, this has been a complaint for years because the telecast would drag on for hours and hours and hours because people would give speeches and they wouldn't. But no one cared back then because, first off, it was on network television, which was different in those days. You could watch TV. You know, you couldn't look at the clips on the internet later. So, because there was no internet. So you either stayed up and watched it, and it was just a thing you did if you were really into movies, or you just waited to the next day and read the newspaper to see who won. It was kind of like an event a sporting event that way. Now it's like there's really no reason to stay up for the Oscars if they run long. So the response is, well, people are going to watch it on YouTube. They're not going to tune in. Those people probably aren't going to tune in anyway. They got work or they, you know, I mean, they're putting the Oscars on a Sunday. People have work on Monday. It's not that important to them. Yeah, people have Oscars parties. You know, again, the same sort of people who have Oscar parties already are Democrats, already buy into all the Oscar hype, already are huge supporters. You don't really need to kowtow to them. So it's just decision after decision these guys have made on the Oscars, you know, in terms of the viewership, are terrible. And that's why their viewership is so far down. And what have they done? Well, there's an article on Breitbart, I think it may have been a Variety too, that in desperation, they've turned to Instagram influencers. So, I mean, you want to talk about a group of people who have almost zero connection to the Oscars. You're talking about people on Instagram. That's like going to your competition, because Instagram is a competition for movies and television. You know, and there are kids, that's all they do. That's all they watch. They watch videos on Instagram. They don't watch movies. Movies? 2 hours? Are you kidding? That's like they don't have the attention span. I barely have the attention span for a 2-hour movie. I saw the 3-hour running time on Batman, and that almost made me not see it before they tried to charge me more money. I mean, that's a long time. And they cut scenes from this damn movie. It's 3 hours long. I just watched the Joker scene that's going around on YouTube, which was pretty good. I think there was a couple other scenes that are cut from it too. Like, how long was this damn movie? Like 3 hours and 30 minutes? I mean, you know, get to the end of this story. And that was everybody's complaint. It was just too damn long. You know, it would have been great had it been 2 hours. And that's a problem with a lot of movies. If they're too indulgent, they just go on and on and on. You know, everything is not always better. So how are you going to boost the Oscars telecast, something that already goes 2, 3, 4 hours long, and get people Instagram age to watch it? People used to, JEC says, people used to actually care about movies. Oscars were more about the anticipation, the build up to the event, yes. Talking about who's nominated, who will win. The actual ceremony was always unwatchable. I agree. There was only so much you can do. Like Billy Crystal was okay, because Billy Crystal didn't try to, as a host, didn't try to make it anything else than it was. This is Oscars. We're going to do this. You know, I'm going to host it. We're going to give out awards, and we're going to joke about how long it goes. And, you know, we're going to make jokes about Jack Nicholson, and I'm going to do an impersonation. And it was all fine, because again, people like Jack Nicholson. People like Billy Crystal. They didn't see them as guys who would get up on stage and say, well, let me tell you why I think Republicans are bad, and why all people who support Trump ought to be put in jail, and why everybody's a racist. Like, that just didn't happen, because it's such a turnoff too. But yeah, I mean, people used to care about the Oscars because it was fun. And you're right, the buildup was probably better than the actual ceremony. I mean, one of the great things about the internet is you could do a supercut of the Oscars and just hit the highlights, right? The couple of jokes that landed from the host, the big awards, you know, the good speeches, the funny moments, Jennifer Lawrence trips coming up the stage or whatever, something like that, the hot chicks. And then you're done. That's what I would want to see. And you're telling me the Instagram influencers are going to convince people who are decades out of movies. They don't watch movies. They don't watch TV. Oh, well, you got to watch the Oscars, which is about awards for movies you haven't seen. And let me tell you something. Not only have young people not seen these movies, most people haven't seen most of the movies nominated. And it's just ridiculous. And Hollywood's response, oh, we'll have a Twitter award. A Twitter award at the Oscars? Look, there was a time that the Oscars could have updated, and that was back before the MTV Awards. The MTV Awards was like an updated Oscars, right? It was like crazy and more young and hip, and you know, they had Best Kiss, and I forget the other awards, but that's kind of what the Oscars needed to do. They needed to upgrade a little bit with their awards, because what people really want to see from the Oscars is, first, they want to see Best Picture, right? So what I think they could have done is expand the awards to more fun awards that we wanted to see. So like more movies should win, just general movies, like best action picture, best romance drama or drama, best sci-fi movie, best, and you could go on in just about every genre, and just have those extra bits to bring in the viewers while still giving, all the technical awards, which don't bring in the viewers, but are necessary for the film people to keep them in line. But things started to really unravel a few years ago when they changed the voting system in the Academy. Instagram influencers haven't had influence since 2018. Kids aren't on Instagram anymore as much. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised if that is true. I don't even know what they're on these days. I guess TikTok, maybe. And TikTok, can't trust TikTok. No way. No way could you trust TikTok. Again, I keep telling you, it's run by the Communist Party of China. So imagine they try to do a TikTok award or whatever, or use TikTok influencers. I mean, the Biden administration is trying to use TikTok influencers to sell the war in Ukraine, I guess, or whatever the hell their plan is. Kids are on ketamine? Ha! I hope not. It's like, first off, there's no answers on the internet unless you really drill down. I mean, there's new and cool stuff on the internet, but a lot of it, like I do South Jersey folklore takes and ghost stories for the Lotus Eaters on my for 30 seconds. I'm part of their podcast membership. I pay to do it. I'm not an official part of it, but I do these 30-second things about ghost stories in South Jersey. And then when I go online and I research them, a lot of times I'll find the same story over and over again on these different sites that have just been cut and pasted. And sometimes it's kind of obvious they're a little wrong, or one site decided to expand on the story. It's kind of hard to tell, but clearly sometimes it's just like, you've got no basis to tell this story. And that's okay with ghost stories a little bit, because that's kind of how they evolve. People tell a folk story over and over, and they slightly change it just a little bit, one sentence, and then the next guy who tells it expands upon that concept, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's fine with a ghost story, with a folk tale, because that's kind of how they evolve. But when you're talking about trying to sell something like the Oscars, they don't evolve like that. The Oscars are what they are. They're film awards, so you can't overpromise them. The TikTokers, I don't even know what they would tell people. They certainly don't watch movies, would be my take. But the other issue with the Oscars is COVID still, if you can believe it, or rather the beer virus, I should say. And I have no opinions about the beer virus. YouTube, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more, say no more. Will it spoil the Oscars is one of the headlines. Lin-Manuel Miranda is skipping because his wife tested positive. And Miranda, I believe he directed Tick, Tick, Boom with Andrew Garfield, and he's done some music, and I think he was involved. I believe he was involved with Woke Side Story, the remake that was completely unnecessary in my view. So, I mean, here's a guy, big time, and he's out for what? For what, really? Because his wife has the sniffles, and, California is still way too paranoid, in my view, about certain things. I'll say. I can't say much more than that. I don't know. YouTube's going to flag me. But, it's just ridiculous. And then meanwhile, you see these award ceremonies going on in LA. And are the celebrities wearing masks? Oh, no, because their whole money is in their face. And we need to see these celebrities. That's how you sell it. That's typically in years past when celebrities were worth a damn. You have to sell them because of their face. This is why when they made the first Judge Dredd movie with Sylvester Stallone kept taking off the helmet, which is something that Judge Dredd never actually did. You never saw Dredd's face in the comic. I don't think you ever saw his face. Maybe once in a while. I don't know. I didn't read 2001 AD back in the day. I just saw some of the pictures. But, face recognition for celebrities was a huge, huge thing. Now, not so much anymore. And you supposedly have this very serious condition, and no one cares. Oh, but the servants who serve these people food and, follow their dresses around and take pictures, they're all wearing masks. And that is like, it's like seeing the nobility and the peasantry. And that's a terrible, terrible look, Hollywood. It's awful, and any of these celebrities who participate that really should speak up, or they should just, in solidarity, wear a mask. If you really want to do it, wear the mask. Say, oh, well, I'm going to wear the mask because I don't want to be the only guy not wearing a mask. Shame the other celebrities into doing it. That's easy enough. So, that's the other big stupid thing in Hollywood. And again, they're trapped by their own politics. Because I often imagine what it would have been like if Trump had been reelected. And I think it would have been a completely different situation with the beer virus. I really do. Because it would have been the opposite in a lot of ways. It would have been, oh, well, here's an opportunity to say the president is oppressing us with this terrible disease. He's overreacting. And so we shouldn't wear the mask because kids need natural immunity and blah, blah, blah. I probably shouldn't go down this path or I'm going to get flagged. So moving on. Disney did not apparently invite the star of Woke Side Story, Rachel Zegler, which I find incredibly weird because she's hot, she's up and coming, they were pushing her hard, and she's in the damn movie. She's like the main character. I think she's Maria, right? So why wouldn't you invite this girl? On top of the fact that Miranda just had to bail, give her the ticket. Like, you're telling me it's so tight in the Oscars in terms of the seating, an event that typically had to bring in lesser known actors just as seat fillers to make the place look full. You're telling me you couldn't get a seat for Rachel Zegler? It's very strange they didn't invite her. I don't know who she crossed that this happened. I don't know who her agent is, but it just seems very, very odd Rachel would not be invited to attend an award ceremony where her movie is up for an award. It's not going to win, I don't think, but she should definitely be there. Come on. Put her in the back, but don't totally snub her. And then, of course, there are the parties. That's like a big thing, which, whatever. I get it. If I was out there, I'd be all psyched to go to one of these parties, I'm sure. Stuff my face and see beautiful women and network myself into another screenplay or two. But, it's so overblown. It's now the parties are almost as big as the awards, if not bigger. It's almost like everything's more important than the actual awards. JEC says the lead up, sure. Then there's the announcements of the awards, of the nominees, which are huge, and then the parties. It's like the award ceremony itself. They won't just do it. Just do the awards. Just do it in the most pragmatic, normal way possible. Right? Just assume everybody wants to know the awards. And if they don't, so what? I'll tell you what won't help it Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, and Regina Hall. I don't know where they dug up these three names to host this thing, but I think it's a major, major mistake. Wanda Sykes was kind of okay back in the day, but what has she been in? She doesn't, I don't think she has a late night show. Amy Schumer definitely is a name, kind of, but she hasn't been in a hit movie. You know, her show on Comedy Central did okay, but it's Comedy Central, which is much smaller. I mean, I thought it was a decent comedy show right before everybody lost their damn minds. And Regina Hall, I don't even know who this woman is, really. I know she's an actress, but again, the three combined, I don't think have enough fame to host the Oscars. You need someone with hosting skills, number one, and someone with a big enough name to carry it, or just have none. Just have no host. I think no host would have been better than these three. You know, and this is an obvious play like, oh, see, there's all women. There's all women hosting and a woman of color, two women of color. No one cares about that virtue signal. We only care, will they move this damn thing forward so we can get to the awards, so we can move things forward, and will it be, you know, watchable? I don't think it's going to be very watchable with these three hosting. You know, it's Amy Schumer and Wanda Sykes both have a different sense of humor in terms of their stand-up, so that's going to be weird and clunky. You know, you're going to have, I don't know what Regina Hall's even going to do. I guess she's just going to, you know, run through the rest of the awards. You know, I don't think she does stand-up. They obviously picked Wanda because they wanted a black female comedian, and she was the best they could scrounge up, I guess. She's also gay, I think. So that's another check on the scorecard. You know, but she hasn't been in anything in a while. And I don't think she's been in a hit movie. The picks are obvious who should have been hosting the Oscars. Number one, Ricky Gervais would have absolutely demolished everything. Yeah, I don't really know Regina either. I think she's an actress. I think she's been in some stuff. Ricky Gervais would have absolutely demolished. The ratings would have been monster. I would have watched it. I would have watched every second of Ricky Gervais. But they'll never let him do it for obvious reasons, because he'll make fun of everybody. And but that's exactly what you want. That's exactly what the zeitgeist wants right now. We would love to see Ricky Gervais take down every single celebrity up there. Call them a bunch of hypocrites. Say, you know, you guys don't know what you're doing. And look, sure, some of the celebrities will get bent out of shape. Certainly Twitter will get bent out of shape. But those people get bent out of shape anyway. Who cares? I'm sure Ricky, I don't know if he would want Zelensky on or not. I would sort of lean towards no, because why would you? You know, what's happening in the Ukraine is serious, number one, and Ricky's there to be a comedian. So I think I would lean towards he would not encourage that in the slightest. Maybe he would have to tolerate it if the producers pulled that together. I know Amy Schumer's going to be so serious in that moment, because she, in my view, has gone so woke. So woke. It's kind of gross. And she's trying to pass herself off as a serious actress. You know, she's okay. You know, I guess in the right role, she'd be okay. She's in a couple of serious movies coming out. She's in this, which looks like a terrible show called Life and Beth. I mean, even a terrible name. I don't know where this development's coming from. I got to think it's a bunch of women sitting around so full of themselves. They think they know comedy. They think they know everything. And they're just coming up with these dumbass shows without any vetting whatsoever. It's just because, oh, you're a woman? Well, it must be a great idea then. And that's the problem with all this woke stuff. Oh, you're a woman of color? Well, then every idea you have is great. That's not how it works. You have to have it. It's not even a vetting process. You have to have a process by which, you know, you sit around and you throw out ideas and you go, that's stupid. Let's do this. Oh, that's a better idea, but let's do this. You know, that's the kind of thing, especially for comedy. Amy just keeps getting fatter and more funny all the time, and they just keep shoving her down everyone's throat. Oh, where is he wrong? Where is he wrong, folks? Unfunny, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen Amy. To me, hasn't been funny since the TV show. And back in her days, I think she was dating Anthony Jeselnik, who's very funny and very politically incorrect. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. So obviously Ricky Gervais, number one pick. He's already got the hosting experience. He's already funny. He killed it at the Golden Globes again and again. So he'd be number one. Now, number two, I think is obvious too. The hottest comedian out there, Dave Chappelle. Now, Dave Chappelle probably would just say no. I don't think it's really in Dave's. I don't think it's something he wants to do. But it would be amazing if he could pull it off. Everyone loved Ricky. I still look up to that once in a while, usually around Oscar time. Yeah. Amy Schumer is gross. No word to describe her before. Perfect. Yeah, everyone says her ex wrote all her early material, or at least helped rework it. Really? That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me. But still, she did it. Still, she got laughs. Still, she did well with, again, the Comedy Central show. But Dave Chappelle would absolutely murder the Oscars. But I don't think it could ever happen. Don't think it could ever happen. Dave's not, I don't know. I guess he could host. It's how hard is it? I've done it. Not the Oscars, but I've hosted things. It's not that hard. So I think Dave would be great. I think he would absolutely demolish things. But at some level, I don't even think he'd care. After a while, let's just get this effing thing over with towards the end of the show. But that kind of attitude people would love. And they would love Dave, and they would tune in for Dave. And his credibility, his street cred, would lend all sorts of credibility to the Oscars, which is what they desperately need. They desperately need some street cred. And then number three would be Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart would have been perfect because Kevin is Dave C. ain't a sellout. Yeah, seems that way. It's hard to tell from this perspective, but yeah, I mean, he's definitely on point. But Kevin Hart, he's already making movies. He's not as big as Dave, I don't think. Not as edgy, but pretty big. I mean, he would definitely be like number two comedian, I think. Today. It was number one when they were considered hosting him before, and then they canceled him, and it was so dumb. It would also be a sign like, okay, we got out of hand, and we're officially uncanceling Kevin Hart. Let him host. Would have been great, but again, now Kevin would probably have a problem with it. He'd probably be like, "Oh, I'm not going through this again. I am not going through this again. You want me to host the Oscars? It was his dream. It was his dream." So anyhow, or Chris Rock, I think he did it once before, didn't he? He was great. He's always great. But are they going to do that? No, because they're determined to prove women can do it. But what did I want to get into here? There's an article called "Are the Oscars Over?" Yeah. But let's go through the nominees, and I'll give you my predictions based on what I know. Now, I've seen very few of these movies. Very few of them. You could let me know if you've seen any of them. But let's go through it. Best Picture, Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up. That's the one I saw. Drive My Car, which is a Japanese movie, I believe. Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, West Side Story, and that's it. So, out of those, who should win? Have you seen any of these? Don't Look Up should absolutely not win. I thought it was terrible. I don't think Dune should win. I hear it's good. I don't think that sounds like a winner. King Richard, I hear, is okay. Licorice Pizza from the trailer didn't look great. Nightmare Alley looked great in the trailer. A lot of people told me it was terrible. The Power of the Dog looked okay. West Side Story, absolutely not. So that basically leaves Belfast and Coda. I think one of them is going to win it. I'm leaning towards Coda because what's the name? Biden's already met the cast at the White House. I think they already know. I think they already know who's going to win. JC, I've seen none of those. I've not heard of 2/3 of those. Yeah, that's a huge problem with the Oscars. Best Actress in a Leading Role: Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. Now, a lot of people are talking about Kristen Stewart. There's a lot of good buzz on that. Nightmare Alley is a remake of 1940s movie. The original is fantastic. Yeah, I believe you mentioned that before. Now, out of those actresses, Kristen Stewart did really look the role in the trailer. I didn't see it. I think Penelope Cruz is probably the best actress. I don't think Jessica Chastain is that good. I don't think Nicole Kidman is that good. Who I want to see win, probably, I would want to see Penelope Cruz win. Maybe, I think Kristen Stewart, I'm leaning towards Kristen Stewart is going to win this thing. Then Best Actor in a Leading Role: Javier Bardem, Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch, The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield, Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith, King Richard, Denzel Washington, The Tragedy of Macbeth. I'll tell you, I want Denzel to win. Out of all those, I mean, they're pretty big heavyweights in terms of their acting, and these are all pretty big roles. Although Will Smith, I don't think, is in their league. Andrew Garfield has been killing it. I mean, he killed it in Spider-Man. So I'm not sure about Tick, Tick, Boom. I didn't see it. Benedict Cumberbatch is always good. Javier Bardem is always good. I don't know if those movies elevate them. But I'd love to see Denzel take it. And it's the only nomination, I think, for Tragedy of Macbeth, which is pretty classic, and it's directed by one of the Coen brothers, if I'm not mistaken. So go Denzel. Best Actor in Supporting Role: Ciarán Hinds in Belfast, Troy Custor in Coda, Jesse Plemons in The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons in Being the Ricardos, Cody Smith McPhee in The Power of the Dog. So I only know Jesse Plemons and J.K. Simmons on this list. J.K. Simmons is a really good actor, but I don't think Being the Ricardos should be. I didn't see it, but I'm not. I don't feel that it's something that's Oscar worthy. The Oscars are racist if Denzel doesn't win, so my money's on him. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely kind of the woke choice in that list. This list, I don't really care, but I guess I would give the edge to probably one of the actors from Belfast or Coda. Maybe Jesse Plemons. To me, he's got the name recognition, but he's a little young. They'll say, we'll give it to him another time. Best Actress in a Supporting Role: Jessie Buckley, The Lost Daughter, Andrea DeBose, West Side Story, Judi Dench in Belfast, Kirsten Dunst in Power of the Dog, and Anjuane Ellis in King Richard. Now, the woke choice would probably be that last one, methinks. The Macbeth movie looked pretty low budget, built around the actors. Yeah, look cool though. I still want to see it. Best Actress in a Supporting Role: I don't know. The West Side Story, no, that shouldn't even be on the list. Judi Dench would be my choice. Kirsten Dunst. No. I would give it to Judi Dench, but I didn't see the movie, so whatever. Best Director: Kenneth Branagh, Belfast, Paul Thomas Anderson, Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion, Power of the Dog, Ryusuke Hamaguchi in Drive My Car, and Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. Again, shouldn't even be on the list. In my view, out of those, I would give the edge to Kenneth Branagh. I mean, he's a really good director. Everything I've seen him direct is good. I didn't see Belfast, but I would give him the edge. Paul Thomas Anderson's good too, but I don't know. I didn't like the look of Licorice Pizza from the trailer. Jane Campion, I hope she doesn't win. She's too woke for her own good, and she messed up. She got caught in a thing. So I think the woke choice is definitely against her. The woke choice would probably be Hamaguchi and Drive My Car. Steven Spielberg, if they give it to him, holy cow, that would be a tragedy, and I don't even care about it. Probably will give it to the Japanese director. Yeah, that's definitely the woke choice. Best writing, original screenplay. Kenneth Branagh, Belfast. I got to see that movie. Don't Look Up, Adam McKay, David Sirota. Should not be on the list. No. King Richard, Zach Balin, Licorice Pizza, Paul Thomas Anderson, The Worst Person in the World, Eskil Volk, and Jacquemin Tower. I can't say it. I don't know. Again, Belfast. But who knows? I mean, the woke choice would probably be The Worst Person in the World, because I believe that's a foreign movie too. But man, if they give it to Don't Look Up, I would kick in my TV. Best writing adapted screenplay: Coda, Sian Hader, Drive My Car, Hamaguchi, and Dune. John, I can't say these names. Safis, Dennis Villeneuve, Eric Roth, Lost Daughter, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Power of the Dog, Jane Campion. Again, I'd give it to Coda. I didn't realize it was an adaptation. Woke choice, probably Drive My Car again. Best international feature film. And this is the problem with the Oscars, I always said. If you're going to have best international film, and you got Drive My Car on this list, as well as The Worst Person in the World, then why do you have a separate category if it's in for Best Picture? It doesn't make any sense. Flea, The Hand of God, Luana, A Yak in the Classroom. I haven't seen any of these movies. Probably giving it to Drive My Car either way. Best animated feature. Now, Flea is also on this one. And the internationals, again, it's like you're putting the international stuff in the regular categories. So either take out the international categories and say, now we scan the world for movies. So animated feature, Encanto looked terrible. Flea, haven't seen. Luca looked terrible. The Mitchells versus the Machines, I've heard great things about it. I hear it's a great movie. Raya and the Last Dragons. I'm rooting for the Mitchells versus the Machines. Then I have no idea who's going to win. I'm going to skip the rest of the categories because I got to wrap this up. I'm getting a buzz on my phone. But yeah, there you have it. I hear Licorice Pizza is really self-indulgent and directionless. The lead looks pretty unattractive. Didn't want to watch them for 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours? Are you kidding me? That's too long. Sean Penn's in it and Bradley Cooper, but yeah, I mean, I analyzed the trailer. I thought the kid, he reminded me of like Chris Pratt's cousin, and I figured that's why he got cast, and I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, it looks okay. And look, I'm from that era that Licorice Pizza takes place in, so I'm loving the music. I'm loving the David Bowie music and the sets and everything. But to me, it's like a watching an old movie from that era. It's just like, okay, yeah, I've been there, seen that. There's not a lot of new to it. I felt. Now, I didn't see the movie, so maybe it's amazing, but I just don't know why it's in there. Paul Thomas Anderson has done some great stuff. I mean, he did Boogie Nights, right? That was a great movie. I love that movie. I will say this in his defense. Paul Thomas Anderson at least still has a bit of fun with his movies, which is great. Pixar keeps cranking out movies and they look the same and forgettable. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, some of them are really great. I mean, the Toy Story movies are great, but I mean, Encanto just look so dumb. I think that was one of theirs, right? Or very similar. Here, Licorice Pizza was really long. Don't know if it was 3 hours. I hear it drags. Well, that's worse. That's worse, you know? It's worse. Like, I saw Hamlet by Kenneth Branagh, and that movie was almost 4 hours, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it's an hour. It zooms by. Man, that movie moves. I couldn't believe when I got out of the theater what time it was. It was like being catapulted forward in time. Um, but then there are short movies like, oh, you want to kill yourself? They feel like they're 9 hours long. There Will Be Blood was great. He's been coasting ever since. Yeah, There Will Be Blood is a weird movie. It's just weird. It's the pacing is weird. It's almost like he didn't have an ending for it. It's a very strange movie about a strange time. But Daniel Day-Lewis is just so amazing to watch in a film sometimes. It kind of doesn't matter, you know. And it has some great performances. And, you know, you can always tell when a movie's great because they parody the hell out of it. And that's a movie that's been parodied many, many times, right? Licorice Pizza. I'm sure there's stuff to parody in it, but I don't know. I don't think it hit. I just don't think it hit the zeitgeist. You know, I think a lot of people in Hollywood are holding back, and I think it all goes back to one thing: their damn politics. Daniel Day-Lewis carried that movie for sure. Yeah. It all goes back to the politics. The politics are destroying these people. It's destroying comedy. It's destroying creativity. They cannot do anything without considering their politics. It's exactly what destroyed Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up, for all the posturing about how it wasn't a political movie, is the most political movie you'll ever see. It is totally political. It's meant to be a satire about environmentalism and the government and how helpless they are, but it turns into a big dig at the MAGA crowd in the third act. I mean, it just turns it like completely ignores satire. The way to do it, and the way to do it is the main characters don't matter. The characters kind of don't matter. It's the one thing. It's the one format for storytelling where the characters almost don't matter. They do and they don't. I mean, in characters, at the end of the day, stories always have to be about people. But when you do satire, they're also about these bigger issues. And some of those people, some of those characters are just going to die or disappear or whatever, because the focus on a satire is satirizing your target. And the target in Don't Look Up really should have been the government. And it was for part of the movie, but only for part of the government. Because if you look at it closely, you see that, yeah, we know who's in charge and who's really screwing this up. It should have been everybody screwing this up. Democrats, Republicans, whomever. It should have been about greed and not about politics. And yes, it was partly about greed, but only certain people and certain kinds of greed. And that was really tough to see. Leonardo Dicaprio his character should have left in the second act. He was just superfluous after a point. He should have been marginalized, and it should have been about the president screwing everything up, and we should have focused on her. If you look at, Dr. Strangelove, that's kind of the way it goes, which is why Peter Sellers has to play multiple roles. Sandy says, yeah, my attention span is like the size of a dang gnat. Yeah, 3.5 hours. Yikes. I've been looking at that British actor lately, CRS kicked. Yeah, I mean, 3.5 hours is a huge commitment. I can't even sit that long. You know, if I'm streaming it, I rent it on Amazon, maybe I could sit through 3.5 hours because I can. CRS can't remember S. Oh ha. Can't remember S. That's funny. Yeah, like if I'm going to stream the damn thing on like Amazon Prime, yeah, then I could stop it and go get a sandwich, go to the bathroom, relax, decide to watch the rest of it later. Somebody calls me up and, hey man, we got to do these things. Oh, okay, and I'll watch the rest of the movie later. a 3-hour commitment, a 3.5-hour commitment in a movie theater, it's like, that's my day. That's like the day's gone. I mean, and my days are pretty short anyway, as late as I get up. So, and as late as Joan gets up. Man, Joan, you're just zonked out, baby. Glad to see it. Are you alive? Are you still alive? Let me just get a pulse on Joan. Yeah, she's still warm. She's still alive, everyone. Yeah, I don't want to watch Batman. How long they say it is. It wasn't very excited about it to begin with. Yeah, it's a shame because I think they finally captured the tone, the right tone. I saw that Joker scene. It's totally on point. That's the way the Batman should be portrayed. That's the way he was in the comics. That's sort of the peak of his era. A rundown city, vigilante, going outside the bounds of the law. I like Pattinson in a role. I know a lot of people didn't, because he's younger, and so he's got a Batman that can make mistakes. So I like that. It's good to start with a guy like that if you're going to do a long franchise. And it also started too with he's already established a little bit. He's established a little bit. The villains are established a little bit. It's none of this not Batman Gotham crap or I hate these not Batman TV shows. And I won't go on that rant, but just let me state for the record, if you're going to do a Batman show, have Batman in it. Have Batman in it. But anyhow, let's wrap this up because I gotta answer phone calls. Any further statements about the Oscars? I'm not going to be watching them. That's why I did the stream. I thought about doing a live stream. I was just like, why am I going to sit through that and torture myself? I can't even show the damn thing. Who cares who wins the Oscars? I'd rather do something else with my 2 to 4 hours of time. And then maybe tomorrow I'll analyze who actually won and you could see if my predictions were worth a damn. Again, I haven't seen any of these movies except Don't Look Up, and that shouldn't even be on the list. Yeah, no way. That was not an Oscar-worthy movie at all, in my view. I forgot they were even happening. Yeah, me too. I didn't realize it was tonight until the last minute, and I was just like, should I do an Oscars live cast? I mean, who cares? Who cares? Russell Brand, is he doing one? Recap will be more entertaining. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Don. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, I think the recap will be quicker. It'll be fun. It'll be shorter. It's something to say for brevity. And with that being the case, I'm going to end it here. Thanks for tuning in. Look for my other videos today. That British dude, Russell Brand. Yeah, he's getting very red-pilled, Sandy. He's getting very red-pilled. I'm Tony D. This is Little Joan. I would be there. Later, JEC. Bye, everybody.